Large nerves of the thorax. Vagus nerve. The right vagus nerve crosses the anterior surface of the subclavian artery and descends laterally to the trachea and medially to the azygous vein. It runs behind the root of the right lung and contributes to the pulmonary plexus, then passes on to the posterior surface of the esophagus and contributes to the esophageal plexus. Finally, it leaves the thorax and enters the abdomen behind the esophagus, passing through the esophageal opening of the diaphragm. The left vagus nerve descends into the thorax between the left common carotid and left subclavian arteries. It crosses the left side of the aortic arch, descends behind the root of the left lung, and contributes to the pulmonary plexus. The left vagus then passes down on the anterior surface of the esophagus and contributes to the esophageal plexus. Finally, it enters the abdomen through the esophageal opening of the diaphragm in front of the esophagus. Branches: recurrent laryngeal nerves, cardiac branches, pulmonary branches, esophageal branches. Recurrent laryngeal nerves. The left recurrent laryngeal nerve arises from the vagus nerve as the latter crosses the arch of the aorta. It hooks beneath the arch behind the ligamentum arteriosum and then ascends into the neck between the trachea and the esophagus. The right laryngeal nerve arises from the right vagus nerve in the neck and hooks around the subclavian artery. Cardiac branches. Two of or three branches arise from the vagus nerve in the neck and descend into the thorax to end in the cardiac plexuses. Pulmonary branches, esophageal branches. The vagus nerve thus supply the thorax, the heart, the trachea, the bronchi, the lungs, and the esophagus with parasympathetic and sensory nerve fibers. Phrenic nerves. The phrenic nerves arise in the neck from the anterior rami of the third, fourth, and fifth cervical nerves. The right phrenic nerve descends in the thorax along the right side of the superior vena cava and in front of the root of the right lung. It then passes over the pericardium to the diaphragm. The left phrenic nerve descends along the left side to the left subclavian artery and crosses the left side of the arch and the left vagus nerve. It passes in front of the root of the left lung and then descends on the pericardium to the diaphragm. The phrenic nerve is the only motor nerve supplied to the diaphragm. It also sends sensory branches to the pericardium, the mediastinal parietal pleura, and the pleura and peritoneum, covering the upper and lower surfaces of the central part of the diaphragm. Thoracic part of the sympathetic trunk. The thoracic part of the sympathetic trunk, which is the most lateral structure in the mediastinum, runs downwards on the heads of the ribs. It leaves the thorax by passing behind the medial arcuate ligament and then becomes continuous with the lumbar part of the sympathetic trunk. The trunk has 11 or 12 segmentally arranged ganglia. The first ganglion is often fused with the inferior cervical ganglion to form the stellate ganglion. Branches. The wide rami communicantes join each ganglion to the corresponding thoracic spinal nerve. A white ramus contains preganglionic nerve fibers and afferent sensory nerve fibers. The gray rami communicantes. The gray rami communicantes join each ganglion to a corresponding thoracic spinal nerve. A gray ramus contains postganglionic nerve fibers. The cardiac, aortic, pulmonary, and esophageal branches arise from the first 5 ganglia. The splanchnic nerves descend and pierce the crura of the diaphragm to supply abdominal viscera. The greater splanchnic nerve arises from ganglia 5 to 9, the lesser splanchnic nerve from ganglia 10 and 11, and the lower splanchnic nerve from the last thoracic ganglion.